We have some breaking news for you. According to Jeff Passan of ESPN, the Brewers are trading all-star reliever Josh Hader to the Padres. A source tells ESPN. Jeff Passan not the only one tweeting out this information about this blockbuster trade, if you will. Josh Hader going to the Padres. The Brewers giving him over to San Diego. Joining me now, Ryan Divish, who covers the Mariners on a daily basis. But Ryan, before we get into the M's and them acquiring Luis Castillo, what was your reaction to the news when you heard that Josh Hader was leaving Milwaukee?
I was pretty stunned, actually. I mean, you're talking about probably one of the best relief arms in baseball. He has the ability to pitch multiple innings, which is so huge in the postseason. But Mariners training in Peoria, Arizona, and the Padres being there. I've been around AJ Preller. I think he loves pickup hoops and making crazy deals at the trade deadline. I don't know which order it is, but he's done this the last few years. The Mariners have benefited from one of those deals when he gave up Ty France and Taylor Trammell, Luis Torrens, and Andres Munoz for Austin Nola, I'm sorry, the catcher, and then a couple relievers. So this doesn't surprise me with AJ. Maybe he felt like he couldn't get Juan Soto, so he'll go out and get a dominant arm instead.
You know what, though? The Padres add Hader, Ryan, without trading any of their top 6 prospects. So they were able to keep that intact. Do you think the Padres are still in on Juan Soto?
Yeah, they certainly could be. If that happens, they can make the moves. They have all the guys to do it. Maybe they go after Ian Happ instead. They have, AJ has positioned himself to really make moves like this at the deadline with the amount of prospects he's accumulated. That's kind of what you try and tell fans, is that's why you build up your farm system. It isn't always to just put them in your lineup, but to go out and get the finishing pieces to make a run at a World Series.
All right, so let's switch our attention now, Ryan, to the Mariners. Of course, everybody was wondering where Luis Castillo was going to go. He certainly could have helped anybody in terms of that arm is concerned. But the Mariners get him. What does he do for them?
Well, it just changes the whole rotation. Their rotation is already very strong this year, but you add Luis Castillo to it, and it just gets that much more difficult. You look at it, if the Mariners make the postseason, and they're in a wild card series, and they're going to run out Luis Castillo and Robbie Ray and some form of Marco Gonzalez and Logan Gilbert in a 3-game series. And then when you have a 5-game series, I mean, that's a pretty formidable pitching staff. And the big problem is that rookie George Kirby, who's been outstanding, he's on a pitch limit. He just hasn't pitched a lot over the last couple of years. They don't want him to get hurt. And they didn't have anybody else really in their minor league system they felt like was going to be an adequate fill-in. So if you're going to have to go replace somebody in your rotation, why not go and get the top of the market starting pitcher? And that's what they did.
And they did have to give up a couple of top prospects. If you look at what the Mariners gave up in return to get Luis Castillo, Noelvi Marte, their number 1 prospect, as well as their number 3 prospect, and their number 5 prospect as well. Was it worth it in your estimation to go for it now?
Yeah, I joke with some buddies. It's kind of like the Seattle housing market. You're always going to have to overpay for what you want. And I think that's what happened with the Mariners. You're going up against the Yankees, who had interest, and the Cardinals, who had interest. And those are teams that will make a move like that. And I think the Mariners knew they had to overpay a little bit. I think perhaps the biggest loss in that is Edwin Arroyo, the 18-year-old shortstop, who really just kind of blossomed this year. He's a switch hitter. He's hitting over 300. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he's just like a magical defensive player. He could be a star. Noelvi Marte, who's actually rated higher. A lot of scouts believe he'll be a left fielder eventually. I just think that, that it's going to hurt, but at the same time, the Mariners haven't made the postseason since 2001. You don't hang a banner in your building for best farm system. So they've got to get to the postseason and try and do something.
Incredibly solid point. They are doing well in the month of July, as we've just changed the calendar now to August, 18-6 since July 2nd, but they haven't played well against the Astros. They're 1-6 against the Astros and 17-0 against everybody else. What's been the biggest hiccup?
It's been like that for a long time. If you go back to 2019, they went 1-18 against the Astros and never won a game in Minute Maid Park. I think they're more competitive now. This year, going into the All-Star break, they were 6-6 against the Astros. They're much more competitive. It's a better overall series. Just things have gone wrong, and the Astros just kind of know how to win. You look at yesterday's loss; they were so banged up. They didn't have Julio Rodriguez and Ty France in the lineup. Their bullpen was pretty much used, and they had to go to a 30-year-old rookie who'd been pitching in Mexico to start the season to face Yordan Alvarez in the 10th inning. It wasn't ideal, but that's kind of where they're at. They really need this off day on Thursday. They're going to try and piece it together in this Yankees series, and you get to see Castillo pitch against the Yankees. And then hopefully their plan is to regroup after this off day. And if you look at their schedule, it gets really easy the rest of the way after this.
6 of their next 10 games against the Yankees. And, of course, Julio Rodriguez is such a star so far for this club. On the IL after being hit in the hand, can't swing a bat for 5 days. How big of a blow is that?
It's crushing. I just think at a lot of levels, he's probably their best overall player right now. He provides a lot of energy in the day-to-day lineup. He's one of their best base runners. He just makes things kind of go at the top of the order, and he has a knack for making the big play. So you remove him from the lineup, it just puts a lot of pressure on everyone else. And this is a team that hasn't performed well offensively all season. It's been kind of Ty and Julio and everybody else chipping in at times, but they have not been as consistent as they want. They need guys like Jesse Winker, who homered yesterday, and Eugenio Suarez, and some of these established players to help them out and kind of get going. And they need Mitch Haniger to come back off the injured list, which could happen by this weekend.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. He could return by the end of the week. He'll be a nice welcomed addition to that lineup. Ryan Divish, who covers the Mariners for the Seattle Times, thanks so much for taking a few moments to be with us.
Thank you.